other entrepreneurial ideas.
Thank you.
I'm Cody Igdell. I'm in an early phase startup. The idea is to get more things done without ever touching your wallet using bartering trade and fiat currency.
Todd Churchill, I'm the contract-based CFO for startup companies and small businesses that need very high-level CFO services, but only for a small part of the whole time.
Thank you. Greg?
I'm Craig Lawson. I'm primarily focused in the application of advanced manufacturing in the medical space, factory automation, building processes.
I'm Keith Toussaint. I primarily focus on consulting with startup companies as well as large organizations at the intersection of healthcare, information technology, and business development.
Thank you. Dr. House.
John Fine, physician and software developer, and address the solutions for population cognitive
Neil Watson. Do you know IBM Watson, cognitive learning?
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm Ann Schulte. I'm a consultant in business of healthcare strategy. So helping device companies figure out how to get to market, how to get through the value analysis committee, who they should be approaching in the hospital, what a reasonable strategy is.
And former marketing director at St. Jude.
Elgin Perkins, and I work for CenturyLink, and I deal with network security, cloud services, co-location services. I help businesses adhere to any government requirements as it relates to their data.
I'm Brendan Hale, and I have a PhD in human performance and neuroscience, and I consult in behavior change and sustaining behavior change. And so I work primarily in the health and wellness space, getting people to adopt and sustain positive health behaviors.
Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Kyle Han. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Performtel. We're a customer service and generation business for other companies.
Thank you.
I'm Peter. I have a few startups. The one that I'll present myself today is Startup Finder, helping startups find students who would work for them as interns.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Walter. I recently moved to Twin Cities, so very recently, so happy to meet people transitioning out of a position in finance, working remotely for the summer, but very open to new opportunities.
My name is Michelle Marins. I'm the Associate Director of Digital Strategy and Innovation at the American Academy of Neurology. So we develop products and services for our physicians to use with their patients in-house and also with.
Hi, my name is Elise Maxwell. I am currently running a startup that focuses on aggregating innovative women's health products that are often taboo or embarrassing to learn about or purchase. And we're also beginning to look into developing our own product line.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew Woodard. I'm a software developer. I have experience with many technologies. Currently, I'm focusing on Ruby and Rails development. Yeah.
The young man over there is looking for a Ruby on Rails developer. So,
Hi, hello, Ruby's.
go ahead.
I'm Dustin Pescadero. I'm a Node.js developer and avid Linux user and C++ developer, and I'm founder and CTO of Genevest.
And what is Genevest? Is it an IT consulting company?
Can you give an elevator pitch for Genevest?
Absolutely.
So what we want to do is we want to take the investment tools that are running through Wall Street and bring them to the average everyday person and empower them to make excellent investment decisions. It's all based around a back testing tool which lets you put in arbitrary rules and will tell you exactly how well your portfolio did over any amount of time.
Sorry about that.
So we're putting portfolio rules in and then back testing those so whatever stocks would pass those screens are the ones that. So somebody could put in a rule if the logo is blue.
Anything that's price related, anything that's income statement, balance sheet, or cash flow related. You can also do arithmetic operations.
So look at fundamentals.
Yes.
They seem quantified.
Okay, question. Go ahead.
I'm Joe Pescadero, MBA in Finance and Marketing, CEO of Genevest. He's the brains, I'm the business. What we really want to do, actually, with this is empower you guys to be educated to make your own investment decisions. Right now, if you want to do any research, you're probably tied to your broker. Because there really isn't a whole lot of investment research that you can do online out there. We've been looking for years and it's not there. The reason that I'm developing or devoting a lot of money to this is because I've been burned.
We'll come back.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Aaron Hurd. I've recently done supply chain strategy consulting, and I'm working on a startup helping students find other students who need textbooks. So my startup, think of it as a Tinder for textbooks.
Good. I'm going to interrupt the flow here. Matt came in, so Matt, you got 20 seconds to tell who you are.
Hi, I'm Matt McCarthy. I'm 18. I successfully raised $70,000 this week for a technology company on Indiegogo. I'm currently focusing on developing a Kickstarter crash course to teach everyone to bootstrap a company for $5,000, bring it to Indiegogo, and everything needing management. So we're going to do a whole host of programs to get millennials to do companies cheap.
Thank you.
Hi, Ryan Harkness, founder of PR Caffeine, or an SEO company.
Good.
John Lishman, PhD. I'm in the process of relocating to the Twin Cities and looking to be part of the startup community. I'm currently doing research on the effectiveness and people's reactions to the lean startup.
Wonderful.
I'm Andy Haas. I've spent 20 years for a Twin Cities manufacturing company. Engineering background, most recently VP of Global Sales and Marketing. I decided to take 1 to 2 years off until my wife decides this amount of money has run out before I go back to a real job, and hopefully, so I'm an aspiring entrepreneur.
Must be a big heat. John.
John Stavig. I run the entrepreneurship program here at the Carlson School, so get involved with teaching entrepreneurship kind of at all levels and across campus, organizing different competitions like the Minnesota Cup and other programs. Prior life was involved in investing and running early stage communications businesses, mostly telecom.
Well, good.
I'm Stacy Ryder, and I was a participant in Minnesota Cup this year. Thank you, John, for all you do. And my company is an early stage company called Do Goods. We're a social entrepreneurship organization that operates online stores and donates the proceeds to related nonprofit organizations.
Great. Well, I appreciate all of you being so efficient with your introductions, and so that helps Stephen identify with it. It does seem to be a little bit tilted towards medical, but there is diversity in the room. Oh, and Dale, we need to have your 20-second elevator pitch.
Well, I get 20. I'll get 30 because I'm doing it.
No.
Okay. I'm Dale Brosey. I'm a Google partner agent, or I have a digital marketing agency. We're a Google partner agency located down by the Vikings practice field. I'm the technical part, and my partner does business development.
Excellent. Thank you. So, Mr. Snyder, are you ready for your introduction and then your presentation?
Sure.
Okay, great. Appreciate it.
Introduction is really brief. I'm Stephen Snyder, and I'm a lean startup junkie. That's why I'm here tonight. And I help coach both large and small organizations on their lean startup journey. So first of all, I want to thank John and the university for giving us this great facility and the space for meeting here. Also want to thank Jim for organizing and doing all the work of kind of spreading the word about the meeting and also buying the food and placing it. And thank you very much, Jim, for all the great work that you do. Yeah, and I wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know you got a lot of things to do on a great summer evening, and I'm glad that Lean Startup is one of them. You know, I was when Jim first asked how many people were familiar with Lean Startup, how many people feel really comfortable around Lean Startup principles? Okay, so a good part of you, but not all. So how many of you come from the software development world and do agile software development? Okay. And how many of you come from the design centered world, the design thinking world, customer centered design? Okay, so some of you here. So between the group, essentially the principles of Lean Startup are really shared with these other disciplines in 4 major areas. These other disciplines have hypothesis testing, test and learn. Either all of these disciplines have discovery interviews and learning about the customer's needs and unmet needs. The disciplines have this notion of minimum viable product, getting a little in front of the customer so that you can get the conversation started. And there's this notion of pivoting, that is when you're off base doing something different. But the one thing that sets the lean startup method apart from all of those other methods is the superimposition of a business model innovation context. And really, I think that is what makes lean startup so special and so unique, and what I'd like to spend a decent amount of time talking about. How many of you are familiar with the business model canvas? Okay. And how many of you are familiar with other lean startup canvases? And which one do you go by?
Mine.
Yours. You invented a business model canvas. Cool.
Business model mapping.
Mapping. Okay, great. Okay, so there are many different canvases. The one I'm referring to here is the Osterwalder canvas, which has 9 quadrants, and together these 9 quadrants map the whole strategy or business model of an enterprise or a business. It begins with the customer, of course. We need to know what are the customer's pain points, what are their needs, what functions do we want does the customer want us to do, what jobs are they hiring us for, where are the gains that the customer is expecting, which segments are we talking about? I mean, customers is big. What unique segments of customers are we talking about? And that's mapped very closely with the value proposition, which is a description of how an enterprise or an organization or an initiative might want to offer services, value-added services to customers. There are other things that are important in the customer chain, channels. How do you get to the customers, and what kind of relationships do you have with the customers? And then, of course, on the right side is all about money. What price are you charging, and what's your market size, and how is this going to turn into a monetization of this idea? The right half of the business model canvas really talks primarily about the making money, and the left side talks about the secret sauce of how you're going to create those good products and services to serve the customer. Talks about the key activities, what activities need to be done, what partnerships need to be engaged in, what resources do you need, and of course, what costs. So when we look at this as a whole, we begin to see the innovation in each of the quadrants and this journey of figuring out exactly how to get through the maze. What I'd like to do is take you through an example of just that with a company that I've been working with. It's the name of the company is Stemonics, and first of all, I need to disclose I've been an advisor with Stemonics for over a year now. And in January, I became its first outside investor. We just closed a round with Go for Angels, and I've joined the board of Stemonics. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. What is Stemonics? Stemonics invented this high throughput way of cultivating human tissue, live human tissue, in scale, using stem cells. So what is the fuss about stem cells? Well, about 9 years ago, a professor in Japan figured out that if you take a plug of human skin from the arm, you can actually turn it into an iPS cell, an induced pluripotent stem cell. And from that, you can create differentiated human tissue representing heart, liver, brain, pancreas. virtually any organ, can be differentiated from this iPS cell. Now, why is that important? Well, as soon as this started, all of these applications came to light. So pharmaceuticals started saying, wow, we could use these differentiated human tissue, live human tissue, to do things like test our drugs before they go into the human body on these organs outside the body and see whether it would cause a heart attack, or whether there's toxicity to the pancreas, or whether the drug is effective in preventing or curing Alzheimer's. In addition, a whole bunch of people started getting excited about taking this human tissue and actually feeding it back into the human body and helping the human body heal, helping your heart become more healthy, or your brain be cured of Alzheimer's. And then a whole another group of people were really excited about the personalized medicine applications. So what if you could take your own skin plug and actually create a differentiated set of tissue, and then test, if you are unfortunate enough to have cancer, test whether a particular treatment regimen would be appropriate for you, or whether it would kill you before you actually took the drug. So as you can see, a whole host of applications for this. But the problem is that this stem cell technology is, and this is a poor joke, it's very manual, it's not in scale, and most of the stem cell work done right now, even with differentiated organs, is done on a plate with 2 dimensions. Essentially, you have a 2-dimensional view into a 3-dimensional organism. What Stemonics figured out how to do was essentially create this high throughput capability where you can create a plate. A plate is about that big, and it has 1,500 wells on it, and each well could contain a heart, a cardiomyocyte, or a neuron, or a motor cell, or a liver cell. So essentially, you have this ability to do all of this testing created through the high throughput production of all of this. So a couple of applications are evident. And going back to the business model canvas, obviously the first customer that I talked about, the first customer segment, would be big pharma or research labs who are interested in doing high throughput screening. Another set of customers might be healthcare providers who wanted to do regenerative and personalized medicine. Okay, so here is Stemonics' first pivot. They realized pretty early on that the regenerative and personalized medicine, that was just too far into the future. And there was just no way to go after this market because the market really didn't exist right now. It's too early. But this high throughput drug screening to big pharma was a very attractive market. And so the exercise for business model came around, okay, what's the business model that we could get these high throughput screening into big pharma? So the first question is, what's the channel? How do you get to big pharma? And it turns out that there's a company called LabSite. How many of you have heard of LabSite? Okay, they sell to big pharma already. They actually sell a machine that is used for high throughput drug screening. They don't have stem cells. They don't have plates of stem cells, but they have a machine that they sell to big pharma already. And they've been an eager partner to essentially pilot and discuss with early customers the opportunity of piloting this kind of approach. So beginnings of a channel into customer. So the question is, where do these stem cells come from? Well, it turns out many universities have stem cell lines. UCSD, University of California, San Diego, is one of the leaders in stem cell research and actually has a whole bunch of researchers who've created their own stem cell lines, and Stemonics has licensed some of the stem cell lines coming from UCSD. And so the business model starts to take form. Figure a cost of $200 a plate, a revenue, a price of $1,500 a plate. You got good business here, right? It would appear.
Good margins.
Except there are a couple of problems. The first was the hypothesis about how much it would actually cost to create this machine that's going to create the stem cells. Turned out that when Stemonics priced it out, we were talking about upwards of $2 million plus. So that wasn't going to work. So this was the second pivot, an alternative. And Stemonics came up with the idea, they knew of a machine that did 95% of what they needed to, and they knew that it was rentable for $100 an hour in the lab. So a $2 million investment, which was the original hypothesis, turned into a $100 an hour renting of this machine that could provide almost as good a solution, not quite, but almost as good. Second insight came when Stemonics recognized that it needed an MVP, and they recognized that pharma has their own stem cell lines, and a customer need would be to get them plated and actually redelivered back to the pharma to use. Essentially, pharma is using Stemonics as a service for plating stem cell lines that they already have. Minimum viable product. Here we are engaging in the marketplace with the customer, learning about the technology, learning about innovation, learning about how to do this, all the while adding value to the customer with a minimum amount of effort, with a minimum amount of investment. One of the other things Stemonics learned about its customers was the pharma companies wanted phenotypical diversity. They wanted not just one line of stem cells, but they wanted a general population to be able to test against a general population of heart tissue or lung tissue. And so a partnership match evolved. Be the match, of course, the National Bone Marrow Registry has cord blood from millions of people, essentially stored and usable for research. So we're seeing the canvas fill out with all of the different elements of the business strategy. So the company was funded, and the original hypothesis was that once the company was funded, we would get nanotechnology resources, because that's the core technology that's going to make this work. Well, what Stemonics realized was that actually what was needed was bio expertise, and in fact, actually stem cell expertise, and that was really what the missing link, as opposed to the nanotechnology, where the company had enough to move forward. And so another pivot. Carson, who had bio expertise, stem cell expertise, another pivot, and that opened up a whole new set of possibilities, because as they began to peel the onion, they realized that the market that they were talking about was actually segmented in a very nuanced way. They began to realize that what they were envisioning this application to be was high throughput. But it turns out that pharma and research institutions actually go through pilot programs first, where they use low density, let's say 15 or 10 or even 6 wells on a plate, on a slide, as opposed to 1,500, this high throughput. So there's this whole market segment of the pilot that was previously hidden here, which has now come to light. And you're seeing the market segmentation get better and finer. And also the market is segmented on which tissue, cardio, neuron, motor, mammary, which line, Stemonix's line from UCSD, their line, the pharma's line, or being the match's line. And that then led to a more in-depth description of the value proposition and a pathway to get started. Again, all of what you're seeing unfold here on the screen unfolded in a period of about a year. This was a journey that took a large number of interviews, a large number of conversations, a large number of interactions, and a number of pivots. You can see the discovery process, the hypothesis testing, the pivots, the minimum viable product all come to play here. Okay, so I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about how lean startup is being used in large companies. I know most of you are not from large companies. Some of you do consulting to large companies, if I understand correctly. So let me just talk just generally about how companies are using lean startup. It turns out that virtually all large companies are using lean startup in some way. 3M, General Mills, IBM, Verizon, GE, and Pearson VUE have all integrated lean startup in their product development process. It's an integrated part of their process already. General Mills, for example, has been doing this for 4 years. 3M has integrated lean startup with their other lean initiatives. IBM and Verizon actually have integrated lean startup with their design thinking initiatives. So they've essentially blended it into an existing initiative. GE has Fast Track, which has had some issues, but they're trying to implement lean startup company-wide. These are companies who've focused on the integrated model, integrating lean startup into the heart of their product development. Other organizations are using lean startup in I call it a separate model. United Health Group, Mayo Clinic, and Target, where, for example, at United Health Group, they have the garage. Man, who's heard of the garage? A couple of you. Okay, this is something that you should know about. It's a really cool idea. What they've done is they created an internal incubator where 17 ideas are moving through the lean startup. They call it the lean launch pad. It's the same thing. Process, and actually they use essentially this methodology with some variants. And Mayo Clinic just ran their second set of 6 cohorts through 6 teams through this methodology. And Target actually started an entrepreneur in residence program where they've actually integrated lean startup into this new business initiative idea. Federal Express has a very interesting model. I call it the retrofit model. It was explained to me this way. We at Federal Express, this is from an innovation. I'm going to go off camera here.
Sorry, I'll follow you.
Well, it will follow me, yeah. Okay, Federal Express, hi there. So, anybody have association with Federal Express before I diss them? Okay, this was a really interesting discussion I had with an innovation person at Federal Express. And I asked this person, okay, how does Federal Express use lean startup? This person said, well, you know, our executives are really steeped in the innovation process. We have our own innovation process. And the executives are very wedded to the innovation process that we have here. And so what we do is we slip these lean startup principles into the vocabulary that they already use and are comfortable because they don't want to adopt something new. Okay? What's that?
My mom, they ran a hackathon. Didn't really work out too well.
It didn't.
No, they just use a lot of these lean concepts.
Yeah.
But they're not true.
Yeah, you're talking about FedEx or Procter & Gamble?
Procter & Gamble.
Yeah, Procter & Gamble is actually,
trying.
yeah, they're trying. Actually, I talked to somebody at Procter & Gamble. they have actually come like 3M through the lean discipline, through the lean manufacturing discipline, but Procter & Gamble is not very far along, and they don't have an overall initiative for lean startup. Wanted to kind of close my comments with my top 5. And I know John will have his own top 5, and maybe some of you who've been practicing lean startup might have your own top 5 and want to invite a discussion and dialogue after I've shared some top 5 ideas here. And really, this is in the spirit of what I think this group is about, which is really fostering a community that looks at lean startup and works together to discover and share lean startup best practices. So here's my top 5 list. Innovate via the whole business model canvas, not just a piece of it. And you saw that with Stemonics, really looking at the whole gamut of the 9 elements in the business model canvas. Another good example is one that came from United Health Group, from their garage. They have a really cool startup project with a vending machine that delivers healthy meals. Okay, has anybody seen that? Okay, yeah, it's out there. Now, their unique business model innovation is that when you buy a healthy meal from this vending machine, you actually get a discount on your health insurance. And so you can see the value chain essentially as customers eat more healthy meals, they are incentivized to do that and then rewarded by a monetary reward on their health insurance. Again, a business model innovation.
So if you eat so much, you can get your health insurance for free?
You know, I'm not sure. I think if you eat that much, then you're going to have other problems. Number 4 is appropriate customer segmentation. We saw from the Stemonics example how important it is to dig down, peel the onion, and really understand what's going on at the customer segment. What are their needs? What are the jobs that they're asking you to do? What are the pains that they have? And what are the unmet needs? And match that with the value proposition. This is from the new Osterwalder book called Value Proposition Design. Has anybody seen that book or read that book? Okay, a couple of you.
How do you spell it? How do you spell that?
Osterwalder, okay, O-S-T, E-R-W-A-L-D-E-R. If you just look at business model generation, he wrote the book Business Model Generation, and he wrote the book the Value Proposition Design. I would not.
What's his background? Is he with a company or is he a professor?
No, he's a thinker. He is a really good thinker.
An American thinker?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's German. No, he's German. I think he's German.
The quick story is he was doing his PhD dissertation, and he went through Europe and did case research with P&G, some of the big firms, and identified what are those factors they consider for internal launches. These are the 9 components. Yeah. And then from there, he built the business model generation book online, and then it.
Yeah, this thing took off, and then.
Now he's a consultant, so he never had a real job after college.
But where did he come up with this? This business model canvas is, I think, is brilliant. I've never seen anything like it. And it really has helped crystallize all of the components of a successful business. Well, the value proposition design, this next book, is even better because it focuses on those 2 elements of the value of the business model canvas that I talked about before, the customer segment and the value proposition. And that's called the product market fit. So there are a lot of examples of poor product market fit, and there's some examples of good product market fit. I thought we would have a little bit of fun. Guess which side of the ledger this one is on. So what was Amazon thinking? What was Amazon thinking with the Fire Phone? I mean, did they do any research of these gestures, of figuring out whether this actually solves an unmet need?
Sometimes people think they're invincible.
Clearly, they didn't go out and ask customers what they needed and focus on unmet needs.
There's a whole line of thinking, though, that would be, I would say that a customer can't tell you necessarily what their unmet need is until there's an innovation for them to test that against.
Exactly, and that's the Apple Steve Jobs.
0 to 1 innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you balance the two versus 0 to 1? I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So this is first of all this is the dialogue that we need to have, because I think this is a really important question. My short answer is I'm not Steve Jobs, and if I were Steve Jobs, I would be confident that I could invent things without asking the customer. But I do know that one of Steve Jobs' lieutenants, Ron Johnson. Anybody know the Ron Johnson story, the Mac store, Apple Store story? Okay, so here's a story that really goes to really speak to this. So Ron Johnson ran the Apple stores for Apple, and then was recruited away to be CEO of JCPenney. And Ron Johnson invented in his mind this new pricing strategy. In his mind, he invented this new pricing strategy. It was a brilliant strategy.
In his mind.
In his mind, he invented this brilliant strategy. And someone asked him the very simple question: why don't we test this in a few stores before we rolled it out to all 1,200 stores? And his answer was, we didn't test at Apple. So, my point of view is, if you are Steve Jobs, and anyone who is Steve Jobs, don't pay attention. Don't pay attention to this. If you are Steve Jobs, then do this. But if you're not, engage in the customer dialogue, learn, and actually, it really speaks to my last point.
The thing is, I just watched a 30-minute video of Steve
What's
Jobs.
that?
I watched a 30-minute video about an hour ago about Steve Jobs scolding a customer. And this guy, this software developer, came in and said, blah, 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 blah. Why are you using this framework for this? And he just cut off and said, let me cut you off right there. So it's not my job to please the developers. If I was to please you, my company would be in the toilet by now. He said, no, it's my job to set a vision, and I have to make an easy, nice, beautiful computer. If I was to build software that pleased the developers, then he's like, we'd never get off the ground.
Well, also remember that Steve Jobs brought us the Apple Newton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Most of his products failed.
So I think first of all, actually, there's another point. I actually made this point in my book about Steve Jobs, and that is there's Steve Jobs 1.0, Steve Jobs 2.0, and there's Steve Jobs 3.0. Steve Jobs 1.0 burned out at Apple because he thought he was so smart and he didn't listen to anybody. Steve Jobs 2.0 actually confronted this failure, and actually he reinvented himself as a leader. And Steve Jobs 3.0 did something really unique. He said, I'm not building the company for me, we're building a company together. And our job is to really build a sustainable team that can continue to develop really great products. And what he did was he recruited really smart people. One of them was Johnny Ives. And he listened to Johnny. And he listened really carefully to Johnny most of the time. And I think it was that collaboration that actually offset some of Steve Jobs' blind spots that actually made him burn out in Steve Jobs 1.0. This is yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to go back to when you said earlier about how do you reconcile this method with the 0-1, creating the market. So, with lean startup and these sorts of techniques, what you can think of is it's a methodology that will help you quantify or at least de-risk it. So the difference is Steve Jobs jumped ahead, and the difference is he could have done all this analysis and he would have taken less risk because he would have known the likely outcome. So there's the difference. You know, he took a high risk. Sometimes he was successful, sometimes not. But this, you're taking a calculated risk because you're evaluating in advance. So there's the distinction.
But I think the other point of view is that by listening to the customer, I think what you guys are saying is you're actually missing, you're being held back. I think that's the point that you're making.
Potentially, there's just different schools of thought, right? So I implemented segment marketing at G&K Services, which is a uniform company. Their number one selling uniform is navy over navy, and they've been selling that since uniforms have been created to lots of different industries. And by actually going into each of those industries and understanding pains and unmet needs and what are some of the larger issues going on in an organization, we were able to reposition Navy over Navy in like 8 different ways to different industries and increase the sale of that basic uniform by $40 million during a recession. So you can ask your customers about things that have nothing really to do with how many buttons do you want on your uniform, and still be able to position the product in a way that meets their needs anyway.
But another example of that from the P&G side of the world, and this isn't new, is, what was it, 10, 15 years ago? They came out with Swiffer right about the same time they came out with Dryal. Okay, the consumers, oh yeah, I want Dryal, and everybody was all, head over heels that I don't have to take my dry cleaning out anymore, and I don't have to pay, arm and a leg to get it done. And then they realized they really didn't want to do it; they preferred to take it out. Whereas the Swiffer, as I'm sure a lot of people here know, they found that if the dummy product looked too good, people wouldn't give them real feedback. And so they had, crappy looking dummy products so that people would tell them what they liked and what they didn't like. But they also went and did the field research to say, what is the shortcoming of the current product? And they found it was as simple as grandma has to get down on her hands and knees with a wet paper towel to get that last bit of dirt. She can't get it into the dustpan. Now, but how many companies do that sort of anthropological research? I'll tell you, some of the companies I've consulted with, here's a job I don't want. In India, you pay cash for healthcare. No matter who you are, you're paying cash. And so at the end of your operation, you do an itemized bill, including how many surgical sponges. You do not want to be the poor guy who has to sit on the floor with the red bag and double check the list.
So I actually know a lot
in the existing sort of large organizations. They have a pretty significant kind of work that I think would be of interest to anyone who's interested in that topic.
Yeah.
It's obviously not applicable to every startup, but for those who are working with large organizations, it's pretty.
What were the 2 boxes that they added?
So, well, the box, they didn't add to the canvas, we added to the canvas.
And what were the 2 boxes?
And what you said, so there was a decision on the canvas, we added elements of execution.
It's kind of like going to counseling with the person you're dating. If you have to go to counseling, just break up. If you have to throw that much money at it, move on. Find a better idea.
That's what AT&T and Verizon did with Fios and Uverse. They threw enough money at it that.
Kindle Fire, the Amazon Fire, they threw enough money at it and then finally said, here, have them, put them on their Christmas tree as ornaments, they'll light up. Something that didn't work.
I think it's like, well, I guess what I was trying to say is like, you can choose your investment partners wisely. Because when you do raise money, you need to know that they have the ability to scale. They, yeah, I mean, like you really want to pick your Series A, Series D funds, like your investment partners, because they will help you manage those growth problems. That's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the money issue, if you read the Lean Startup was written not by the person who developed the canvas, but the premise of Lean Startup was the author had thrown money at it. And they did all this work, spent all this money, and then they created a product that nobody wanted. So he looked at lean manufacturing and said, oh, it's test, fail, and fast, and learn. So he said, well, let's do that and apply that same principle. So that's where the lean comes from, that it's hypothesized. So
before you have to throw a lot of money
right.
at it, make sure you have the proper value proposition and the proper market. So that's what this is all about.
Can I ask a question? How many of you are together as a group? Okay, good. So, and how many of you just want to get home to your families? Okay.
So I would say just, if you feel comfortable, just move around the room and talk to who you want, and be sure to eat some more food. And if there's a smaller group that wants to cluster, let's